But as entrepreneurs, I think our job is to view the world beyond our personal bias. So I think the biggest problem with D2C or consumer brands is that you are a consumer of the product yourself. So your friends and family. And so sometimes their bias or your personal bias gets into your brand. When the pandemic hit, everything moved online. Right? All consumption moved online. My parents, who had never consumed online or bought online, started buying products online. And so all of us started believing that online is the only consumption channel. Nobody's going to go and consume offline. But that's changed now. The world is open. Offline consumption is open. And so now for me, it's always hybrid or omni-channel. That's the right strategy for scale. But the starting point can be online to seed your brand.
Perfect. Now, if you want to see, since you've been working almost more than 5 years, you know in and out of e-commerce, a D2C brand, D2C as an industry, if you look at. So I want to know, like, how you tell us a bit about how you see the growth curve. Like, what was the scenario in India 5 years from now? Like, if you go in the backside, so what does the 5 years before look like, and what do you think so upcoming 5 to 10 years look like? Because I was shocked that you touched the point that there is only 4% of the retail which is happening online, but it seems now that there is like 80%, 70% which is happening online. Might possible our eyes are there.
That's where we are. That's our eyes,
That's
our
our
mind
eyes.
frame,
I
right?
agree.
And I think before I even talk about the future, and the past and where we're going, I think one very important thing you touched on is our eyes and what we see, right? But as entrepreneurs, I think our job is to view the world beyond our personal bias. So I think the biggest problem with D2C or consumer brands is that you are a consumer of the product yourself. So your friends and family. And so sometimes their bias or your personal bias gets into your brand. Take the example of Dr. Vedya's. 82% of Dr. Vedya's orders came from outside the top 10 cities.
Okay.
Now, I am a Mumbai based consumer who's urban and I consider myself elite, but my customer is not necessarily that. So, understanding your customer and removing your personal bias is very important in building of a consumer brand, right? Now, if I talk about what happened in the past, so 5 years ago, by the way, D2C didn't exist as a term. Didn't even exist as a term. And I would go to investors and say, I'm an e-commerce focused, online only, digital first brand. And people would say, really, like, is there a market to build something online only, right? And that's changed now. 2020, everything changed, right? So we already established some amount of credibility, and then the pandemic hit, and there was huge surge in demand, huge amount of sales in the online space. With that, a very large number of brands came into the ecosystem, right? If you see Ayurveda, after our exit, more than 50 brands have reached out to me saying we've launched D2C Ayurveda. So if that's the case, then think about the number of brands. In certain spaces, there are 2x, 5x, or 10x the number of D2C brands because of the growth people saw in the pandemic. Now what we've seen is a normalization or people going back to their old habits. Yes, we are better off than the pandemic, for sure. And I think that now D2C as a category as well has matured, right? So I think quality of brands, quality of founders, quality of conversation, technicality as well. Like I tell founders, it took me 1 year to learn how to build an e-commerce business, to build a D2C business. Today you have 8 weeks because everybody knows Shopify, WooCommerce, website, performance marketing, warehousing, logistics, CRM. You know all of these things, right? So I think as an operator today, you need to be much more savvy or know much more of reality. The future for me looks very, very exciting, very, very bright. We all are talking about $100 billion D2C market by 2025. We've had multiple unicorns now in D2C, whether you look at Mamaearth, or you look at Boat, or you look at Licious. And we'll see many, many more of these unicorns come out in D2C. But I think more than this, what I'm most excited about is the choice consumers have, right? If you like X type of product, you're wearing sneakers, I'm wearing sneakers. I've already met 10 plus Indian sneaker brands, right? So I can buy actually my own indigenous local sneakers, right? And similarly across categories, whether it's health, wellness, personal care, sports, nutrition, fashion, you now have so many options. And so the consumer is the one that wins.